Guys, we're going on the record. If you want to talk, go outside, please.
Are you gonna move the seven? You're waiting for this limit on it.
Yeah. Yeah, as long you can confirm. Okay, I trust you. All right. We are on the record in cause number 2505428. State of Texas versus Stephen Garcia. Today is February 11th, 2025. It's approximately 9:49 in the morning, a.m. Guys, I'd like you to please announce yourselves for purposes of the record. State first.
Diana Davila for the state of Texas.
Mackenzie Watson for the state of Texas.
Jim Butler for Stephen Garcia.
Okay. So I think that we were getting ahead of ourselves here. We started without even going on the record. So today is day for trial. Both parties have announced ready?
Yes,
This should.
Okay.
we're ready.
So what we have here is just kind of a brief introduction and where defense has challenged the breath test in this case and its admissibility thereof. You guys have reviewed everything outside, correct?
Yeah, Judge, so just for the record, the state and the defense sat down in the back room and we kind of went through some of the motions. We went through the motion that I just filed. And then we also began going through the motions in limine. So, and then of course, we brought this motion to keep the breath test out, basically because the officer gave language that was outside statutory language that they are supposed to give when they're offering somebody a breath test. And we're alleging that he basically tells my client, hey, look, if you blow, and if you blow under the legal limit, I'm going to put you in the car and take you home. And the evidence will show that my client relied upon that. In fact, at one point, when the officer is cuffing him and stuffing him, he's like, well, wait a minute, you said I was going to get to give a breath test, because he believed that he was under the limit, wasn't going to register, over 0.08, and was relying on the fact that if he gave that test, all of this ended and the officer would cut him loose and take him home. And then, of course, after that, and after the officer said, no, we got to go downtown because our machine's downtown, he again repeated that and said, look, if you blow under, we're going to get in the car and I'm going to take you home. And again, repeated that. And my client relied upon that and thought that that would happen. Of course, that's not what's going to happen. And Judge, and based on your experience, it's also possible that he could go down there and blow under the legal limit and the DA could still accept charges for DWI. So that was impermissible language that should not have been given in this case.
Response?
And one other thing.
And if you're not ready yet, it's okay, because I know that we're kind
I was
of,
just giving her the opportunity of what she wants to do. We did review the facts on the motion. We agree that the facts stated were as reflected on defense's motion. However, we do disagree with the case law given to support the fact that just because of the statements given by the officer, the breath test should be excluded. The underlying case law has negative treatment by the Texas Criminal Court of Appeals, and there is other cases within the same jurisdiction that have different treatment. However, we have come to the agreement that because what the case given by defense, once it goes up on appeal, it is only reviewed for abuse of discretion, and the case that overruled or gave negative treatment to Erdman says the same thing. Basically, it is the totality of the circumstances, and if you're able to relate a certain link between what was specifically said to the officer and what the defendant believed to be true, and if that gave him a specific idea of what was going to happen or moved him towards the direction of the breath test versus the blood test. So I think we're both in agreement that the only way to resolve it is by you reviewing what was exactly said by the officer on the timestamp was given and using the court's discretion to come to the
Let
conclusion.
me ask you this. Have you had a chance to see whether Serrano, the case that he provided, I mean, it's right on point. Have you
It has not been
seen?
overruled, just so you know. And I think just to give you a little more information. So I agreed with that treatment of Erdman. I thought that it was not that great of a case. Because in Erdman, look, you had a officer that was doing nothing more than reading the statutory language. I mean, he wasn't even saying like, hey, go down there and give a sample. And if you are under, I'm going to take you home, which is like dangling candy in front of a baby, And that's the kind of thing that the law wants to prevent. The law says, here's the statute that you read. Navarro, which is another case that's cited among the cases that we're talking about.
I understand. Is there something that negates Serrano? Is there a case that says, hey, saying something like this is okay?
It would just be Finan, which is the Texas Criminal Appeals case that just states that it was not a breach of discretion to keep it out and that it would have to be a totality of the circumstances.
Okay.
And we 100% agree with that, and we know that. And so, Judge, the other thing that I wanted to say without going into Erdman is the Navarro case talks about, it's very good, and it talks about what the statutory language should be and why it is there and what it informs the person. If you give a test and if it's over the limit, here are the consequences of that. If you refuse the test, here are the consequences with your driver's license. And then, if you refuse, we can get a warrant to get your blood. That's all they're supposed to give them. And then they sit back and then the person either agrees or they don't agree. You can't sit there and then start enticing the person by telling them things to get them to change their mind. And clearly you're going to see that on the video. This officer says these extrajudicial statements. Hey, if you go down there, if you blow over or under, pardon me, we're going to get in the car and I'm going to take you home. Now, if you blow over, you're going to be arrested. But if you ask for a blood test, then you're also going to go to jail. And, it could be a week or however long before that blood comes back. So he's thinking, man, I better go down there and give a breath because I'm going to go home. And you just can't be saying stuff like that.
We have a panel here ready to go. So I don't want to keep them waiting. They've already been waiting for, 30 minutes. So how do you guys want to proceed?
Judge, if it's okay with you,
Are you ready to argue the merits of this? Because what I was going to suggest is that we go ahead, pick the jury, and then we can just start and finish argument with this
Well,
right after.
the only thing that
I don't want to keep them waiting.
No, I understand that. The only thing is that kind of does change the voir dire a bit, doesn't it?
if you want to exclude the breath test part of your voir dire, then I guess it can be talked about. It's not totally excluded, even if it gets excluded, because we can't force them into specific facts that there is no breath test.
Of course.
So I think
I guess we're ready to roll. But and then we can.
I just want to keep them waiting. Let's get it started, and then right after we get done with the paneling, then we can.
Sure.
And then that'll give you more time to look to see if there's something else that you want to look at as far as case law or whatnot.
And Judge, we'll print a copy for the court of the 2 outstanding case law that we have.
For sure. Okay. Good morning, everybody, on this wet and rainy day. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, thank you so very much for coming. You should really pat yourselves on the back. Really, I know that the weather's kind of crummy. I know that it's hot, humid, that most people don't want to be here. Look, I'd rather be at home too, but I really, your sense of civic duty, it's amazing. And I really, really thank you. And I love that we have such a great cross section of the community here today. That's what makes, criminal justice possible. A lot of other countries, a lot of other places don't have this. And that's what makes our system so great because, without you guys, we just can't function. My name is David Fleischer. I'm the judge here in County Criminal Court at Law Number 5. It is one of 16 misdemeanor courts here in Harris County. So just to give you a brief rundown, I don't know what you know, so I'm going to go from the top. So what are we? We are one of the misdemeanor courts. Well, what's a misdemeanor? Okay, well, in Texas, there are two types of offenses. There are felonies, and then there are misdemeanors. Does anybody know what the difference is? Anyone? Anyone? Yes, so to speak. It's based on the amount of time. So a year and above, you're looking at a felony in jail. And below that, a year and under, you're looking at a misdemeanor. Now, within those two categories, there's always subcategories just because of there's so many different types of crimes, they have to subcategorize it. I'm not going to get into the felony because we don't deal with that here. I like to sleep at night and those just, yeah. Anyways.
But most of us have our entire lives seen this sign, right? Y'all remember seeing them blinking on the side of the road. Drink, drive, go to jail. But that is not the law. So the law actually in the state of Texas allows individuals to drink alcoholic beverages and drive as long as they're not intoxicated. Now, about myself, I love to go loopy tortillas. It's kind of like our treat on the weekend. Sometimes when we go there, you know, you're waiting. The first thing that the waitress says when she comes up to the table is, "What? Can I get you something to drink?" And so I usually will have a margarita while we're waiting, and then we eat, and then during that I may have a beer. Does beer stink?
Yes.
Is it not the most disgusting odor? I mean, really, like, I sometimes wonder, even when I drink a beer, like, when did we ever decide, like, that this is good? Like, it's so, so do you think that a person could be drinking a beer and driving home and then they get pulled over? What do you think they're gonna smell like?
Yeah.
Hello, officer?
Yeah.
Right? What do you think that officer is gonna think? Especially if it's early in the morning. Let's say they're coming home, they've been at their family's house or something, they've been hanging out, barbecuing. They're fine to drive, but they say, "Hello, officer." You think that that officer is gonna think that, you know something, I might need to check this person out. You think that could happen?
Yeah.
What if you have not been stretching? I'm gonna tell you something about myself y'all don't know. I've had 2 complete hip replacements. And then something? You wouldn't know it if I didn't tell you that, because I know I'm in such good shape. Y'all probably thought I was a gymnast. But I've had 2 complete hip replacements. How do you think that that would affect my ability if after coming on from Loopies, I got asked to step out of the vehicle? First of all, if that happened, who thinks that they would be just swallowing their tongue? They'd be so nervous. Who thinks they'd be nervous? Anybody? You think you'd be nervous in that situation? I love it. My daughter, by the way, I'm going to brag a little bit. She used to be on the U.S. women's gymnastics team for 2 years. She got to represent the U.S. in Jesolo, Italy. And then, you know, COVID broke out, and pretty much that was kind of unfortunate for her career after that because they weren't able to practice. But a gymnast practices their entire life on the beam, learning how to, you know, and how many people have seen somebody walk on a beam in gymnastics? What do they use when they're walking? They use their arms, right? Why do we have arms? For balance. Would it be fair to ask somebody to walk like a lion and tell them, "Hey, but you can't use your arms for balance"? Like if you wanted to design a test that made someone appear like they were off balance and kind of like clumsy, would you tell them, "Hey, walk like you normally walk? And by the way, walking that tightrope, you can use your arms"? Or would you tell them, "No, leave your arms down by your side"? Which would you tell them?
Let's roll, nerds. Oh yeah, let's roll, nerds. Yeah, let's roll, nerds.